The Kingston Film Office brings musicians and video producers together. We talk to the Meringues and Make Hay Media about the making of a music video on this edition of Kingston Live. Hello, I'm Johnny San.
I'm Jabour.
I'm Pete.
And this is the Kingston Live podcast. Welcome to it. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, you might notice that we're coming to you a little later than normal. Basically, December is always a crazy time. Certain things we wanted to do, we just couldn't schedule. And also, certain partnerships have changed in the last couple of months or so. But in the last year, while some partnerships have changed, others have come about, which has been really nice. One in particular, the Grand Onstage, which is, if you don't know, is a subscription-based service where you get access to the best seats, you get discounts on tickets, you get opportunities to get first dibs on tickets.
It's like the Spotify of going to concerts.
That's one way of looking at it.
It's subscription-based. It's music. Let's go with that.
Also, the recommendations are consistently good. It's like, they put on good shows. You aren't going to just like show up and, you know, oh, cool. It's the like, I don't know. I can't even think of what shows up on my Spotify at this point.
The Grand really is a wonderful place. I mean, even in just the last few months, like we saw the Dan Mangan show, that was just fantastic.
That was so good.
What were you going to say?
Just weird Spotify recommendations. I threw my Spotify recommended list on like yesterday while I was doing some house cleaning, and it's like, you know, my normal stuff that I listen to. And then out of nowhere, it started playing American Woman. I'm like, I have never listened to this on Spotify. Why is this happening?
It's like, you know what you need? You need some Guess Who, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, Burton Cummings actually played at the Grand just a couple of months ago, I think.
Oh.
He's responsible for it.
It's all his
doing
fault.
the marketing.
You can go to the show and yell at him.
He's on some new Spotify marketing no one knows about yet.
Superliminal marketing.
But yes, Burton Cummings and so much other talent at the Grand Theater. Always a great time at the Grand Theater, including the Crash Test Dummies. Right now on our Instagram, there's an opportunity to win tickets to see the Crash Test Dummies. They are here January 24th. It's the original lineup. They're playing all the hits. If you want to subscribe to Grand Onstage, go to kingstongrand.ca. Another partnership that has been really great for everybody has been with Kingston Punk Productions, KPP.
Yeah, KPP.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
I've got a fading KPP sticker still on my, or I guess stamp is the term, still on my hand.
Well, I was just going to say, if you've gone to a show in Kingston, you've probably ended up with a KPP stamp on the back of your hand at some point.
What do you think Mark would think if we like tattooed KPP onto our hands and just like permanently kept going to shows?
Might have to change the stamp color or something.
They use really good ink. It's practically tattooed. Like, this won't come off until, let's see, today's...
When was that put on?
Last night.
Okay.
And this is like, I've dedicated some time to trying to wash this off my hand.
You have to really get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, please reveal your ink secrets. We want to know.
Who's your ink guy?
And another great thing, the GYGK music series has been done in partnership with, and we can take very little credit for this, but yes, we are involved. KPP's been a big part of it, and Spearhead as well. And I have to say about Spearhead, anybody that knows me knows I don't drink, but I have to give credit where credit is due. Spearhead has been so supportive of live music ever since they set up shop in Kingston. Like, I was very fortunate actually to be the first person to play in their tap room, and I remember being in there and thinking, this place is really cool. This is a fun place to play. And since that, there's been so much music going through there. They've had music in the brewery sometimes. Like, they had Sam Roberts there last year.
Yeah, Spearhead's out there killing it. It's so awesome.
Yeah. I totally thought you were going to build to, I don't drink, but if I did, it would be Spearhead. So that's the ultimate plug.
That pineapple beer, very intriguing.
That's what pushed me over the edge, yes. But yeah, the YGK music series, and actually the last one was just a few weeks ago, the Casador show at the Ale House.
Yeah, and it was great seeing such a huge turnout. That was their biggest headlining hometown show ever, and huge turnout in there.
It's always great to see such a big crowd at the Ale House for a local show.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and we had a great time. Good job introducing the band as
Thank
well. I always say, like I talk for a living to a certain degree. I have no problem talking in front of a crowd, but Riley Jabour is very much the hype man. Oh yeah, and he brought the heat.
I'm the Joe C to your Kid Rock.
Yes, whatever that means.
No one remembers Joe C.
No, I don't know who that is. I barely remember Kid Rock.
You don't remember Joe C?
I have no idea. I'm going to look him up right now, though.
This is going to need to get edited out. Yeah.
Like J-O-E?
Yeah, J-O-E and then the letter C. So Joe C was like, it was like, there was so many things literally wrong with him. He's dead now. He had...
Why did we laugh at that?
Yeah, we should cut that out.
We're going to cut all this out. I don't want to explode. Just cut out after I reference Joe C.
Let's just move on entirely from Joe C.
Yeah, he had to take like 45 pills a day to stay alive.
Yeah, I remember this guy. He was on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I must have missed that one. Okay.
He was, I don't know what, he was just Kid Rock's hype man. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I like that it's not a picture of him. It's The Simpsons.
It's a cartoon picture, yeah. That's how I'll picture him then.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Another thing I wanted to say about the Casador show, I liked that all the levels of local celebrity were represented in the crowd. Because we talked about this several months ago. Riley Jabour introduced himself as D-list local celebrity Riley Jabour. And I maintain that he is a C-list local celebrity, partly because I just think he is, but also because I don't think Kingston's big enough to have D-list local celebrities. I think by that point,
looking at it, baby.
No, I think that by that point you're just a regular guy.
Yeah. I think D-list celebrity is like anyone that owns a store that is public facing. Like if you can go into a restaurant and there's a person working there, that's D-list celebrity.
I don't know. See, I think like Brian from Brian's Record Option, I think he's C-list level maybe.
He's high C. High C, low B, I think.
You remember High C?
Yes.
They were all about remembering very C things.
But like the Casador show,
C things.
The Casador show, Rob Baker was in attendance. That's our A level.
Yep.
And then we had like Bill Welichka, Miss Emily was there.
Oh yeah.
And then Riley Jabour was there. So it was just a great night.
The
all
top
around.
3 tiers.
Yes.
Represented.
Yes.
One thing I love about really local shows at Ale House too, like when a hometown band is headlining the Ale House, is like normally a show ends at the Ale and there's like the herd of everybody trying to get out, and like it kind of gets bottlenecked there at the merch table because this touring band is coming through and you want to buy merch before they leave. It bottlenecked there because everybody was stopping to say hello and like just hug each other and like talk to the band as they were like inviting people to the after party and stuff. And I thought that was kind of like it was normally when you're leaving it's like, okay, like move along people, but then it was just like, hey, everybody's hugging, it's happy, it's good times. I like that.
I didn't see a lot of that. I was part of that too, not because I was hugging, but I stopped at the merch table and Cam from Casador was there and I was talking to him and I asked if I could buy a CD and he had to open another box, and it was the weirdest thing because he brought a box up onto the table, cut it open. There was another box inside the box. I was like, well, that's weird. That wastes a lot of time. And then he opened that box, and there was another box inside that box. So it was this Russian nesting doll thing of boxes to get to the CDs. I don't understand how that packaging was supposed to...
And inside that box was one CD.
Yes.
No jacket, just the disc.
But it was like Amazon shipping at that point. And there was a bottle of shampoo in there, too.
But the fourth YGK music series show, January 25th, Cave Boy at the Mansion. So we will be there. Looking forward to that. And getting back to KPP, they bring all kinds of talent to Kingston. In the coming months, we have the Beaches. Matt Good's going to be here. Jimmy World is at the Ale House. For information on those shows and lots more, kppconcerts.com. One more thing I want to talk about before we bring our guests in, our playlist on Spotify. It is growing. It's really, really awesome. We have over 90 songs on it now, all local or at least locally connected. And it's great. Listen to it. It's just Kingston Live playlist on Spotify.
Yeah, it's full of real good stuff.
But be prepared. It's sort of, we're all over the place in terms of genre. So you might hear jazz, followed by punk, followed by country, followed by hip-hop.
American Woman by the Guess Who for some reason.
Burton got us again. All right. Well, without further ado, we're going to kick Pete out because we need the room. Yes. And Riley Jabour, would you please introduce our guests?
Can I ever?
Do you want to do it right now? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. On top of being a music city, Kingston has become a hotspot for film production. From major films like Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak to TV series like Murdoch Mysteries, Titans, and Star Trek Discovery. They shot that one in secret. Kingston has attracted major studio attention as a dynamic shooting location. Now, thanks to the Kingston Film Office, the music scene is getting its due. A new program has encouraged artists to pitch music videos to local production companies. The selected projects get $1,000 in funding towards their shoot, and each of the videos produced from the program will be featured at the 2020 Kingston Canadian Film Festival. Today, we're joined by Braden Dragomir, founder and creative director at Make Hay Media, and Ted Evans, singer and guitarist of local post-punk band The Meringues. Welcome.
Hey.
Yo.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Our pleasure. I want to start by talking about, this is just a really neat thing that's happening. And I remember when I started Titan Sound like about 8 years ago now, I remember thinking that Kingston wasn't a particularly media savvy city. And at the time, I don't think it was, at least not as much. But I'm not sure if it's maybe accessibility of equipment or if it's accessibility of just being able to reach people with social media. But I just feel like it's blown up so much in the last 10 years. Braden, what do you think? I mean, you started your company, it's not, what, like 5 or 6 years ago now?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, like what's your sort of take on that?
Well, I mean, I think in general, there's a democratization of media, right? Like 10, 15 years ago, you needed $100,000 in equipment to shoot anything, you know, from a music video to a corporate video. You know, it was kind of pre-digital camera. And then there was that whole sort of DSLR revolution when, like, especially wedding filmmakers really jumped on and started being able to do stuff that the film industry was doing, you know, to a degree, right? And then over the last, you know, sort of 10 years, you've seen all these camera companies really sort of simplify and bring the price down to make it accessible to so many people. And you're seeing all these really talented people with, you know, really simple equipment being able to do stuff that you wouldn't have been able to do, you know, a decade ago. And now, you know, anyone has got a couple $1,000s and you know, and an eye for a camera and a lens, they can participate and they can make content, and then you can distribute it. Right. Yeah. Then there's the entire ecosystem of YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and, you know, the list goes on, but you can put your content out there. And if you make something that's relatively interesting to a specific audience, you can build a following and you can make money from it now. Like,
totally,
you know, 20 years ago, starting a company was a crazy thing to do, and it was a massive amount of work, and the capital investment was huge. And like now with, you know, a $500 camera and you know, your laptop in your dining room, you could make content that anyone could watch. Yeah. I mean, there's feature films shot on iPhones now. So I think that's really opened it up for a lot of people to be able to participate, and then also be able to grow and you know, become a filmmaker or become, you know, something bigger than what they start as. And and that growth pattern it's enabled.
And I love that. And I love that people with raw talent are able to even just find that first step into their career, you know. And like you said, like people like you and I don't think we could have started our own businesses like 20 years ago, like you were saying.
Well, and we didn't, right? Like both you and I went and we got jobs, and we went into the industry, and we started at the bottom, and we, you know, you did the traditional career path, which is like you got an education, you know, you got a job. You know, I think my first job was like hawking coffee at a news station in Wichita, Kansas. Like that's what you did. And I learned a lot from that. And so, you know, I really appreciate the sort of career that I started. But when it became apparent that like I didn't really fit into the industry and I didn't want to be doing that anymore, and the barrier to starting a production company, you know, I didn't know what I was doing 5 years ago when I started a production company. I knew nothing about running a business.
I didn't either. No, you just jump into it and you figure it out. I think that's the way it works. Yeah.
You know, the thing is, you know, I think the one thing that I'm really thankful for, like, you know, the way my parents raised me and the way my first jobs went was like, I have this just sort of unrelenting desire to get better. Right. And so I feel really lucky about that because, like, I've seen content creators who their stuff looks the same, you know, as it did 10 years ago. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can carve out a great career and be super happy, but it just didn't satisfy me. So now I can learn from other filmmakers on YouTube. There's so much accessibility. The world is so connected. Like, you know, we've got relationships with production companies around the world and we've collaborated with filmmakers. We're just doing the math on it today. And in the last like year and a half, we've shot in 19 countries, you know, and so, you know, looking at that and the amount of people we've worked with in those different countries who all have an understanding of filmmaking. You know, we were in Serengeti in August and there was, you know, filmmakers and there was gear and there was, I'm assuming, you know, Planet Earth shooting there all the time probably informed that a bit, but there's people anywhere in the world who have a camera and can go make stuff and make beautiful stuff. And so it's cool to be able to, you know, participate in that now and how the economy has changed to, you can start a company and you can make a living doing little things in your community. It's really cool.
And everybody benefits from that. The people making the content and the people that get to experience the content. Like there's just so much out there and the quality is just so high.
And there's content for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like you can go as dark and as deep down a rabbit hole as you want to go, and you'll find content for that. You know, put 20 tags in front of it and someone's made something for that, right?
Totally,
and so you get to, you know, there's something for everyone, and there's someone who has to make that thing that fits for everyone. And
well, and I love looking at this list. I have the list of production companies in front of me that are involved in this, some of whom have been on the podcast before. We have Tanya from Creative Nest. She's working with Tegan McLaren. Jay Middaw, our first guest, he's got Happy Kid Productions. He's working with our friends Oak Ridge Ave. Celine, who has Jamstone Productions. She's on here. Greg Tilson. There's all kinds of folks. There's a dozen production companies here. If you want the whole list, it's actually on visitkingston.ca/music videos. But it's just amazing to see all this great local talent, both on the production side and on the music side as well. And yeah, sorry, Ted, we haven't forgotten about you.
Oh, that's okay.
Braden and I can talk shop for a long time, so I have to kind of police this a little bit. but I did want to find out how you guys got connected in this.
We had seen this project come about and agreed, you know, with what you had said before. This is a really cool project. It's a cool thing that's happening in Kingston. As Kingston artists in the Meringues, we figured, you know, we'll throw our name in the ring, you know. We contacted Braden and reached out with our idea, which I think was pretty vague at the start, if I'm being honest. I think we were like, here's the song, we have some ideas. There was a form to fill out. We went through that. And then when we got the email that morning, I got a text from Amanda in the band that said, that's cool about the music videos. And I was like, what do you mean? And sure enough, I checked the emails and Braden had chosen us.
So it was like that? Like you got multiple submissions and you chose...
We ended up creating like a... Well, we ended up creating like a web form to try to get more information because I don't know the total number, but we had well over 50 submissions. Like it got to the point where we were like... And all Kingston bands, right? Like
that's amazing.
All Kingston musicians. And I think we got more than we anticipated across a lot of genres. And so we ended up, you know, to... I don't want to say like to police it, but to like to see who is serious about creating something, right? Because, you know, you get an opportunity, you get a budget, you get to work with a production company, and we get to work with a band who's serious about the music. So we sort of created this extra step that was like, let's see who's willing to go there, and pretty much everyone was. So that backfired a little bit on us and gave them more work and us more work. But yeah, so we had well over 50 submissions, and we took, I think, a different approach than some of the other production companies did. I think I don't know how people decided they were gonna like work with a band, but basically what we did it as like a blind approach. So we left the submissions open all the way until January 6th, which was when bands had to submit to, and we didn't look at anything until January 6th. And then we sat down as a team. We spent an entire day, and we just combed through everything. And I think we spent the morning like separate, listening to everything, ranking how we felt about bands, and then we pooled all that in the afternoon. And you know, because it's a project that is really creative and we get to collaborate with a band, we decided we were going to make it like democracy. We were going to vote. So it wasn't like my choice, and it wasn't, you know, one person on the team's choice. It was, we all came to sort of a unanimous decision about who we wanted to work with. And, you know, I think the part that sucks, and I had to write a lot of emails that were like, sorry, we chose another band, but, you know, we decided we wanted to do a project that was pretty different from what our normal work would look like.
I was going to ask about that too, because you obviously are a music fan. Like, just knowing you as a person, I know you like music, and we were just talking like 10 minutes before the podcast started about how Taylor is also like seemingly the music guy for everybody, is the common thread. Was that kind of what attracted you to doing the music video project overall as this like Kingston Canadian Film Festival project? Because you've done, like, I've seen you at live shoots and stuff before. You've done festivals and performance footage, but have you done like a music video before? Yeah,
so a couple years ago we did a music video for the Abrams. We did their music video for Spend Your Life With Me, which was, I'm not going to say a label out loud because I can't remember which label they're on, because we've done a couple of them, and we license music a lot, so we do a lot of stuff with record labels. But so we did their music video, I want to say 2-3 years ago, that did like a 30-week run on CMT, and you know, has 25,000 views or something like that on their YouTube channel. So we've definitely played in it before. When I first started, we did a bunch of stuff with Casador. We did some live performance with them. We did some live performance with Goldwing. So, you know, both myself and Taylor, I mean, we listen to a ton of music, and you know, every project we've done since day one has at least one track in it somewhere from some music library or some artist or a composer we've collaborated with. So everything we do has music in it, and you know, the auditory experience of our work is 50% or more of what a viewer experience. So, you know, music is really ingrained in what we do. And so, you know, when the film office said they were doing this project, it was like, yeah, we're in. And we're going to do something crazy and weird. We're going to have fun with it.
Well, I was going to ask about, how much can you tell us about what you're going to do? What are we going to see?
I don't know. How much can we tell them?
Yeah, I didn't really think about this.
Actually, you know what? I want to be surprised, so don't tell me.
Yeah, we'll keep it a surprise.
But I am curious how much of it was collaborative.
The music video idea?
Yeah, well, I'm curious because music videos tend to go kind of one or two ways. Sometimes they're performance-based, sometimes they're concept-based, sometimes they're a combination of the two. Can you give us an idea of what we're going to see in that regard?
I think after, you know, we had a good sit down together at Braden's space there at Make Media, hung out for the day and kind of just chatted through ideas, one of which I had said, you know, just kind of a vague idea I'd thrown out before. That was one that they were all kind of leaning towards. That's one in the band we had all kind of chatted through as well. And the idea being vague, it was kind of like the start of a web, and then we all just started adding points. And, well, I think we've got our kind of concept. We're still just, you know, little scenes here and there, lots of spitballing and ideas kind of going on.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're probably still in the infancy of the concept, right? Like when they sort of they gave us the track, and then they said, here's sort of two directions we had thought of going with it when it comes to making the music video. And both of them we really liked, and we had inspirations to draw from for both. And so internally we kind of had just a conversation about what do we want to do. And like I said, it was that idea of like, well, let's do something that no one would expect us to do, right? Because we're documentary style filmmakers. We have a look, and everyone knows the work we do. The fun part is we can shoot a lot of different things, but in the work we do, we typically shoot, you know, in a genre and in a style. And so the second concept was out there, and it's just different from what you would expect to see from the stuff we shoot.
Yeah, I think for us, I think if it's like it's going to be, you know, right within our style. It's different enough to our first two music videos, but as far as energy of the band, I think it's going to be right on point.
Well, I like to hear that it sounds like it's very much a collaborative kind of thing. Because obviously, you know, as a musician, you have a certain vision for your own music. But Braden, I know you like to get creative as well. So that's really cool.
Well, and I think, you know, most of our work is for clients. We do some of our own projects, but for the most part, we work for people. And so I think, you know, the email to the band originally was like, hey, we really like this direction. Let's chat it out. Like, let's see where you're coming from, and so we can understand. And then, you know, we obviously and we've all listened to the whole album now, and like really just trying to get a sense for the band and the energy, and, you know, and then figuring out, okay, cool, now how do we bring that into a concept and keep that image? Because we have to do it regardless of, you know, of whether we're working for a project in Kingston or Toronto or internationally or wherever. You're always, you know, we're responsible for carrying that image. That's what we do as a video production company. So it's exciting to get to do it in a very different way from how we would normally get to do it.
I wanted to ask about the budget as well, because I hear $1,000, and I mean, that's amazing, but I mean, that's not a lot of money at the same time for film production and video production. Is the fact that it's, you know, it sounds like it's almost a passion project. Is that sort of make it appealing for you?
I mean, definitely. I think, you know, for us as a team, like I said, it's something out of our normal catalog of work, and we do passion projects, you know, a few times a year, and it's to exercise that creative muscle. It's either to get control of something, right, where it's like, cool, we found a story, we don't want to attach a brand to it because we want the creative control to tell that. This is sort of the same thing as that to me, right, where it's like, cool, we found a band and a track that we connect with, and, you know, we want to make something together with them. The film office, you know, stepping up and putting forward money to a whole bunch of production companies to support their productions, like that's, you know, that's unheard of, and it's pretty amazing, you know. And you know, you can look at it, you know, glass half empty, glass half full, right? Which is like, in the grand scheme of projects, $1,000 is a small budget. At the same time, for a local music video, $1,000 is 10 times
more than we have.
And it's, you know, it's 10 times the budget anyone's ever come to us with locally, you know, on a band that's, you know, maybe not on a label, or hasn't, you know, pulled every penny together that they have, or, you know, hasn't been fortunate enough to get a factor grant or something like that, right? It really opened up an opportunity for, you know, bands and artists who deserve to get to make something with a production company to get that chance. And, you know, for us, like, yeah, we looked at it, we are looking at it as a passion project, which typically means we're going to have more fun with it, right? And we've got a budget, and, you know, we figure we're, based on the concept, we're going to spend it on set and props, you know, and that's, you know, what we need to do as a production company to make the thing look like the way we want it to look. And it's nice that that doesn't have to come out of our pockets, right? In the same way that other passion projects have.
And something that we keep coming back to in this podcast is this kind of almost explosion of musical talent, but also media talent. And it's just so amazing to see it almost legitimized by something like this. Oh,
yeah. When we submitted, we were keeping that in mind. You know, these are going to be creative people on the other end, too, that we're submitting to. It's not just a company that we're going to hire to hold the cameras and do the edits at the end. They're going to be creating the project with us. You know, we're musicians, yeah, and I could shoot something on my phone and, you know, do whatever in this age, but to have this opportunity with the film office in on it, and Braden and Make Media, it's really, yeah, an amazing thing. And then having it premiere at the Kingston Canadian Film Fest obviously is another. That's something too that kind of drives, I think, the storyline, the concept a bit too. That it's not just, you know, a performance video or this or that. It's going to make an audience think, or at least feel, or laugh, or something. You know,
when it gives you a much more exciting, you know, finality to a passion project as well, right? Where you already know what your distribution is. You know, we talked about, you have all those places where the music video could go, and, you know, and will go on the Meringues channels once, you know, we've released it. But, you know, this gets to go to the film festival, and it's going to go up there with, like, I think there's like 15 projects now, something crazy like that, you know, talking to the film office. And there's all these projects from the community. They're going to, you know, get a chance to be seen by a very different audience. And, you know, from a creative perspective, it's like, cool. Like, we want our thing to be different and super cool when people see it and they go like, what was that? You know, so that's a lot of fun. And then I wanted to add too. So one of the things that's exciting about this project, and it sort of ties into what you were talking about, you know, this growing media scene that exists in Kingston, is so not only is there a fund to support the music videos, the film office also has a small honorarium fund for us to bring on trainees on set. So we are running the music videos as we would run any professional set. And there's going to be a group of people that, you know, get to come and learn and have different hands in different parts of production where they want to learn. So, you know, not only is it we get to make something that's different and cool, we get to bring people in and train them and teach them, you know, how we approach a set and how we approach a project like this, you know, which brings more creative people to the table, you know, gives people that experience so that they can make their own content, you know, and, you know, it's a great project all around for sort of everyone involved.
Another thing I love about the growing media scene in Kingston and the growing music scene as well is we have Kingston music videos now. Like in the last maybe 5 years, maybe a little bit more, you see music videos and it's like, oh, there's Market Square, there's Skeleton Park. You know, you see all these things that you recognize, which is really cool. Are we going to see, I know I said I didn't want to know too much, but are we going to see any kind of familiar Kingston scenes in this video?
You will see familiar scenes. You won't see familiar Kingston scenes.
Ooh. Okay.
I like that. That's a good tease.
Yeah.
Yes.
You will see things you've seen before.
There is nostalgia involved, but no.
You made a time machine.
Yeah, exactly. How did you know? But yeah, so the concept definitely has a big level of nostalgia. One of the things that's quite different for us is we're actually building an entire set for this.
Awesome.
So it's like it currently does not exist anywhere. Well, except for like the 1960s.
Yeah,
I'll give you
in
that
the space-time
tease.
continuum, it exists.
It
somewhere.
existed, I guess, like 50 years ago now, which is crazy to say out loud. But yeah, so yeah, we're definitely playing with genre in this. That's how it was. You know, it worked really well with the track, and you know, the byline of it came from the Meringues. They had a fun idea, and we were like. I'd say we ran with it, but we kind of just sprinted. Like we kind of ran a marathon already with you know.
We got there. We're like, we're ready to go. And like, we are done. Like, okay.
Well, I love you saying that the concept works really well with like this era and set piece, and how you said it works so well with the energy of the band and the song, because I find the Meringues have a very unique, like, performative energy, not just being, you know, a band performing on stage, but you have a tremendous back and forth dynamic with having two front people of the band and you and Amanda. You kind of have that whole, there's a performance just between the two of you, even music separately, just there's antics, for lack of a better term, on stage.
Definitely.
And is that something that is that something you actively work on for your stage presence and also present in videos, or is that something that just happens?
I think it does just, it happens. It was kind of, came along with the original concept of the band, that there was going to be some theatrics, some cinematic, you know, some real emotion on stage, some tension, I guess. And yeah, we've put that kind of into videos before, of kind of Amanda and I with a kind of push and pull kind of fighting, playing factor. And yeah, it's something, we work on it, but it's not something we rehearse or practice. Like, you know, she'll choke me out with the mic cable, and I'll tell you, we do not practice that. Yeah, that just it happens.
Need a safe word.
Yeah, and but yeah, no, it's something that happens on stage. We have a lot of fun with it, and I think the whole dynamic is going to transfer over to the video really well.
Well, let's take a little break here, because we are going to play the song that's going to be in the video called The Lottery. And yeah, so we're looking forward to this. I think I'm going to just sort of try to imagine the video with this sort of vague description I've been given. But we'll come back in just a moment and we'll talk a little bit more about the band. So this is The Lottery by the Meringues on Kingston Live.
Sleeping especially yourself. Especially yourself, don't tell me we won the lottery when we're still living on the street, doing all these things you say we gotta be. I never heard you say that things would never be the same.
Ted, I'm curious about, like, this is one of the few sort of punk duets I can think of.
Right.
That's not a regular thing as far as I can tell. Where does that come from? Is that a deliberate thing, or is that just an extension of the people involved?
I think, yeah, it's a bit of an extension of who we are and just as musicians, you know, what we've got going on together. But yeah, it was kind of, that was the concept we had, was this two, you know, male-female lead that was very, you know, I guess mysterious to the audience. Are they, and we've had every question, are you together? Are you brother and sister? Are you just friends? Are you fighting? You know, people want to know what's, you know, is what's happening on stage real? And that's kind of the image we want, is that level of bit of mysteriousness to the whole, I don't know, I guess, yeah, to the whole relationship there.
I'm sort of just a casual observer of punk music, you know, if such a thing even exists. And you guys identify as post-punk. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that earlier. Riley, Jabour, and I were trying to figure out what exactly that means. What does that mean to you?
So there's, with post-punk and a little bit deeper, post-punk revival is kind of where we kind of fall in, which is this this kind of newer age, bit of glam involved, a bit of like rock and punk, but a lot of attitude. So the music can kind of, like, you'll hear post-punk revival bands that sound like almost anything and everything, but there's a similar driving factor there, which I guess is the attitude, the glam, the kind of in your face, but you can kind of do whatever you want musically, which we've got a lot of the punk element. We've got a lot of melodic things in there. You know, influences range all over the place for both Amanda and I, and Jeremy in the band, who's writing with us as well. And
it feels very lively. It feels very spontaneous and kind of shoot from the hip sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, we're trying to go for energy, kind of hectic moments, kind of fall off the rails, or at least make you think we're about to fall off the rails, you know.
I've always loved, like, post as a prefix for any genre, because then you kind of, it's a love-hate relationship, because then you kind of are like, I don't know what the hell that means, but also you have to do a little bit of, like, research and do like a music historian vibe of, like, okay, so what did this turn into to become post? And you just get this whole new rabbit hole to dive down.
Definitely. Some of the influences you see, and just looking up the term post-punk revival, you'll get a lot of good bands, and I think we fall within that. That's what we've been identifying as. But, you know, as listeners of music, people will tell you they hear everything. You know, they'll say we're a punk band, we're a pop band, we're a rock band, and, you know, we're a band, we're up there, we're just rocking out and keeping it energetic.
So what's it like being a punk band, or in this case, post-punk band in Kingston? Because we always talk about how Kingston has kind of a sound. There's sort of a, kind of the accessible rock kind of thing, but there's so much else out there. We're talking about our playlist earlier, and it has everything. There's country, there's hip-hop, there's all this stuff. I'm not really part of the punk scene. I'm just curious, what's it like? What's out there? What's going on?
I remember about 10 years ago, a few years before we started the Meringues, I was in the punk scene. I was in a band called Vorasek. We weren't very punk, but we were playing with bands and playing in people's living rooms and very much DIY shows. There would be the same kind of underground group of people there. You'd always see a few outsiders every now and then. And that group would, we'd all see each other. It'd be the same shows. And over the years, it kind of dispersed, but you'd see each other at similar shows. And then I felt in the last 2 or 3 years, things in that scene really started to kick back into where we were before with like punk bands and not quite metal, but just an edgier kind of group of bands that were doing shows together again and getting a group of people out that were enjoying it. But there is a bit of a plateau, I think, in Kingston. You get to a point with this genre of music where, I think people here do like more of an accessible rock, kind of a nice folk thing, and we fit like none of that. None of the most popular genre here. I think we're very much outside of that. But whenever we've toured and stuff like that, we get like great reactions in other towns, and people are always like excited. They're like, "Wow, I've never seen anything like that." And we do get that in Kingston too. Not to say we don't have fans in Kingston or Kingston doesn't like us. Obviously, we have fans here and lots of love here.
I think Kingston almost becomes a victim of its own reputation at times, where it is kind of known for a certain sound, which I think is cool. But it's sad when a lot of this other great stuff that's out there kind of gets marginalized as a result. Yeah,
and I think that's why it's great we do live in this society where we can just, put out a video or connect to people around the world literally instantly, putting out songs, and there's people from the States, people from the UK saying, "Hey, this is great. This reminds me of this band from our scene or our genre that we like." And it's, we're finding fans all over the world, and with our music out on streaming platforms and just getting coverage when our album came out, getting coverage like that was good for other ears on it. Doing videos, of course. It's all we can do as musicians, to get your stuff out there. Because if we just sat here in Kingston, as much as it is a huge, awesome hub of music with lots of love, we would just plateau. We would just sit here and...
Totally.
Yeah. No, it's... Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to point out, like you've both kind of said that Kingston has that weird, like the punk scene doesn't seem... It's not the first thing coming to mind when you think of Kingston.
Right.
But it's also odd that sometimes I think of Kingston's values and they fit really well in the punk scene, where Kingston seems to be a very like active community and social causes and environmental causes, and politically, like people take their viewpoints very seriously. Makes it sound like we're all just bickering online, but people are actively trying to campaign to improve the world, right?
Yes.
And I feel like maybe I'm just idealistic, but I feel like that's always been a big part of the punk scene is, like get out there and actually like quit complaining, make the world what you want it to be, sort of thing.
Yeah. Go out, support, go and do. Exactly. Like, and that's, you do see that in Kingston a lot, with a lot of causes and stuff. And it's nice to see it transfer into music a bit, for sure.
I like that you brought that up because, we talked about this with Infotourist as well. We were talking about how rock music, at its heart has always been subversive, but I think we've kind of gotten away from that in the last maybe 10, 20 years. But punk, I think, has always had an element of that.
Yeah, trying to be challenging or offensive or just making you think and saying, hey, like, rise up, do something, get out there and do it. And people here do that already, We don't have to tell them, but that's what we do. We're part of the fight.
You guys have a show coming up at Clark Hall Pub.
Yes. So it's for Trev Stock. We've played it, which is a fundraising event. We've played this in prior years, and we're playing again January 31st at Clark Hall Pub.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Something I like asking people, what's your worst experience on stage?
We probably have a lot of these with the amount of hectic stuff going on up there. It always seems like it's a bad moment, and then people are like, hey, that moment where, you know, everything fell apart, that was great. And then you guys pulled it back together and kept going. That was great. But worst moments, and again, this is really could go either way. I thought it was hilarious at first, but I jumped off stage. We were in Peterborough. I dove off the stage and fell into a table and knocked everything off the table. I thought it was funny, and I thought the people were like enjoying it. And I get up on stage, and I was like, right, like, wasn't that great? And Amanda was kind of like shaking her head, but we went on with the song, and I thought, okay, that was funny. And after the show, she was like, those people left like immediately. They got up and left. And I was like, oh, I thought that was like a great moment. But it turned out, yeah, maybe not so great for those people.
Is there any video of that somewhere? That sounds like internet gold.
I know. No, unfortunately, there wasn't anyone filming, but no, yeah, it was hilarious.
Any advice for aspiring musicians?
The biggest thing I can think of would be keep writing, like always write and release songs. Doesn't matter if it's on the project you're working on. Just keep releasing projects and things. I've been in probably 10 different bands nowadays, 4 or 5 that I thought were going to be the big thing, that was going to be the break that I made it on. And none of them did that. You know, I'm still just playing, starting new bands, trying things. And I hear that too from people who are, you know, in the industry, who've made it, who are, you know, they said, I had, you know, 15 bands who I thought was going to be the one that would be my big break. And it was this one I started, you know, 10 years down the road with these guys I met here and there. So if you're a musician and you're just starting out, always try your hardest, but definitely just keep going too, because you never know when it's going to happen.
Ted, Braden, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We'll see you at the 2020 Kingston Canadian Film Festival.
Awesome. See you there.
This has been the Kingston Live Podcast. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. Kingston Live was recorded in Kingston at Titan Sound. Hosted by John Sanfilippo and Riley Jabour. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Executive producer Rob Howard. Special thanks to Allison Dixon. We'd love to hear from you. Email your suggestions, thoughts, comments, ideas to podcast@kingstonlive.ca.